Imagine discovering that without the protection of the modern world, your own body would be unable to withstand nature as it truly is. Far from cities, without filtered air, without disinfectants, without medicines, your health would begin to collapse within hours. There are places where modern skin cracks, where humidity seeps into the lungs, where water can trigger an infection, and where the cold forgives no mistake. And yet, people live there their entire lives. They don't simply endure, they flourish. Why can they, and we cannot? This leads to the question that has puzzled scientists for decades. What hidden mechanisms allow some humans to remain healthy in the most lethal environments on Earth? And what part of that resilience have we lost without noticing? Today, we reveal a system of natural defenses so extraordinary that it challenges everything we thought we knew about human health. Wisdom passed down through generations, knowledge that explains why these cultures endure, while the modern body grows increasingly vulnerable. And the most surprising part is that when we observe these five worlds together, a silent pattern emerges, one that only becomes clear at the end of the journey. Before we continue, I invite you to subscribe to the channel. What comes next is not just knowledge. It is a different way of seeing the world. And to understand it, we must begin in one of the driest regions of the African continent. A place where water is a privilege, light rules everything, and modern skin would barely endure a few hours. There, in this extreme landscape, a people has learned to turn the desert into home. The Himba. One Himba. The skin that shouldn't survive. Take a moment to observe this landscape. In northern Namibia, the light strikes the earth with such intensity that it seems to carve it. The heat dries the skin within minutes. Dust rises at every step. And the absence of water turns even the simplest routines into a daily challenge. Such an environment would cause irritation, burns, or skin infections in most of us in very little time. But the Himba have lived here for generations, perfecting a form of body care that not only resists the climate, but uses it to their advantage. Their most visible defense is ogize, a mixture of ochre and animal fat that coats their skin and hair. For a long time, it was seen merely as decoration, but recent studies revealed something remarkable. Ochre contains antibacterial, antioxidant, and photoprotective compounds capable of inhibiting microorganisms typical of arid climates and reducing damage caused by ultraviolet radiation. The animal fat they use is no coincidence either. Its lipid-rich composition forms a semi-permeable layer that retains moisture and prevents the skin from cracking. In the absence of water for daily hygiene, this ointment becomes a protection system that modern science would classify as a highly effective skin barrier. But ogize is not their only shield. In a region where bathing with water is a rare luxury, the Himba turn to smoke. Their rituals include burning resins and local plants such as omuzumba, whose smoke perfumes the body and helps maintain hygiene in an environment where water is scarce. The combination of ogize and smoke baths acts as protection against insects and dirt, an approach modern science is just beginning to study. Their clothes, bodies, and hair are regularly smoked, reinforcing that protection in a place where water is limited. Their environment also contributes to their health. Himba villages are built with open structures that encourage constant ventilation, reducing humidity and microorganism buildup. This simple but effective architectural detail contrasts with modern indoor living, where stagnant air promotes allergies, irritation, and respiratory problems. Another key factor is gradual sun exposure from childhood. Radiation that would be difficult for us to tolerate helps shape more resilient skin in them, with a different inflammatory response and a higher tolerance to solar damage. None of this happens overnight. It is slow adaptation, consolidated over generations, as though the body learns to converse with an extreme climate until it finds equilibrium. And here is a reflection for you. How long do you think your skin would remain stable under this same sun? Without shade, without creams, and without a drop of water? While many of us would need dermatological products or medical attention within days, the Himba relies solely on what their land provides: ochre, smoke, herbs, and tradition. That difference summarizes centuries of adaptation. A week here would challenge any modern body. Theirs, however, has integrated this climate as part of its identity. A protection system built from simple resources and knowledge that science is only now beginning to understand. But the most revealing part is not their resistance, but what their example suggests. Because if a people have turned extreme dryness into an ally, what happens to those living in the opposite extreme? In a place where water is not scarce, where it shapes every breath. If this has surprised you, wait until you see what happens when nature no longer punishes the skin, but surrounds it completely. 2. Yanomami. The jungle that can make you sick in days after leaving the arid landscapes of southern Africa behind. The contrast hits with almost physical force. The Amazon rainforest doesn't simply appear in front of you. It engulfs you. Thick, warm, humid air clings to your skin like a second layer. The environment breathes. It seems to move with you. Every sound, the flap of wings, a falling drop, a deep crack from within the vegetation, reminds you that everything here is alive. Decaying leaves form a soft layer beneath your feet, on soil that never truly dries. The smell of damp soil, exposed sap, and fermenting fruit creates a setting that stimulates all your senses once. But the most intense part is what you cannot see. The air is filled with millions of invisible particles, fungal spores, bacteria, viruses, microscopic parasites. Each breath is an encounter with an entire world that, for an unaccustomed body, can become an immediate challenge. In an environment like this, infections and irritation would quickly appear in a non-adapted organism. But for the Yanomami, this place is not a threat. It is home. One of the most striking reasons is their microbiota. Studies published in journals such as Science Advances and Nature reveal that the Yanomami possess one of the most diverse microbiomes ever recorded in humans. That diversity is not accidental. It arises from constant contact with the soil, from an unprocessed diet, from the near total absence of antibiotics, and from an intimate coexistence with the microorganisms in their surroundings. Their digestive system is neither fragile nor isolated from the outside world. It is an ecosystem trained to work with fibers, roots, fruits, and microorganisms that for many of us would mean a trip to the doctor. Within that diet, wild honey plays a key role. Rich in antimicrobial compounds and natural prebiotics, it further strengthens their gut health. To this resilience, we must add their ancestral botanical knowledge. They know which plants contain antiparasitic alkaloids, which barks help stop diarrhea, which roots calm stomach pain or fever. Many of these remedies are currently being studied as potential phytotherapeutic alternatives. What for us would require a pharmaceutical drug can, for them, be resolved with a precise blend of plants applied at exactly the right moment. Even the architecture of their homes contributes to their health. The large malokas, built in a circular shape and open at the top, create constant ventilation that prevents the buildup of humidity and harmful microorganisms. Smoke from the central fire helps dry the air, control insects, and reduce the spread of fungi. These are spaces designed to live with the climate, not to fight against it. Perhaps the most decisive factor, however, appears in childhood. Yanomami children grow up literally touching the forest. They are not separated from the ground by artificial surfaces or sterilized toys. Their hands sink into the soil, they climb trees, drink local water, and breathe air saturated with microorganisms that shape and strengthen their immune system from day one. And now, an inevitable question arises. How would a modern body respond after spending just one day breathing this air full of invisible life? Science has been clear on this point. A modern organism could fall ill here from an infection that the Yanomami control using a simple preparation made from bitter bark and antiparasitic roots, employed in their medicine for generations. For the Yanomami, the forest is not a threat. It is a teacher that offers them protection, food, and knowledge. Their health does not come from avoiding this environment, but from understanding it. That is perhaps their greatest lesson. When you truly live with nature, your body learns to work with it, and not against it. But what you have seen here is only one part of the journey. Because if, in this region, abundance of humidity, of life, and of microorganisms shapes the immune system, our next destination shows the exact opposite. Now we enter a place where the challenge begins when everything disappears, when humidity vanishes, when light no longer warms, when the air stops wrapping around you and begins to cut. A world where every breath steals heat and where the modern body would start to fail without warning. That place lies at the very edge of the planet. There the Inuit are waiting for us. 3. Inuit. The cold that shuts down the modern immune system. The Arctic does not need grand introductions. One single step is enough for a modern body to understand it has crossed a threshold. The silence is deeper. The wind is sharper. 3. Inuit. The cold that shuts down the modern immune system. The Arctic does not need grand introductions. One single step is enough for a modern body to understand it has crossed a threshold. The silence is deeper, the wind is sharper, and the light, when it appears, seems to warm nothing at all. Temperatures can plummet within minutes. The skin loses heat instantly, and the moisture in your breath freezes before it even leaves your face. Here, even breathing is a constant negotiation with the cold. Anyone who is not adapted would begin to show signs of physiological stress in a very short time. Lung irritation, inflammation of the airways, loss of sensitivity in hands and feet, and a sudden drop in body temperature. For the Inuit, however, this environment is part of who they are. They do not survive in spite of the cold. They survive because they have learned how to live with it. One of their main defenses comes from their traditional diet, based on fatty fish, seals, caribou, and marine mammals rich in omega-3. These nutrients act as natural anti-inflammatories, allowing their immune system to function steadily even when the climate would suppress the immune response of an untrained body. To this, they add a crucial dietary habit: the consumption of raw or fermented foods. This is not a random custom. It introduces beneficial microorganisms that strengthen the gut microbiota, turning it into a key ally against intestinal and respiratory infections. But their adaptation goes far beyond diet. Studies published in Nature have identified genetic variants, including those related to the FADS gene cluster, that influence how they metabolize fats and regulate the production of body heat. These variants do not make them immune to the cold, but they do allow them to turn fat into thermal energy with remarkable efficiency. Their skin also shows signs of this adaptation. It presents a more stable lipid barrier, capable of preventing cracking and inflammation at temperatures that would damage modern skin in a matter of hours. Breathing is another decisive factor. Inuit tend to inhale slowly and deeply, especially through the nose, warming the air before it reaches the lungs. A simple gesture, but vital to prevent respiratory damage in a climate where each inhalation removes more heat than it provides. Their lifestyle also contributes to their resilience. Walking long distances, hunting, carrying loads, and pulling sleds keep their core temperature stable and strengthen their immune system. In an environment like this, a sedentary life is simply not an option. Even their traditional clothing is a masterpiece of natural engineering. Caribou skin parkas trap warm air while allowing moisture to escape, creating a microclimate that regulates body heat without trapping cold or sweat. And of course, the igloos. Far from being frozen shelters, they function as thermal chambers. They trap body heat, block the wind, and maintain a surprising balance between insulation and ventilation. A home made of ice, capable of sustaining life where a modern metabolism would quickly collapse. None of this means they are free from respiratory illnesses. Today, many modern factors also affect their health. But it does show how their bodies and culture have developed concrete strategies to withstand a climate that, for most people, would be uninhabitable. Not because of any biological superiority, but because their way of life trains and protects their defenses from early childhood. Inuit children are gradually exposed to the cold, strengthening their breathing, their metabolism, and their thermal tolerance. What would be a shock for us becomes a learning process for them. Perhaps it is worth asking a question. How long do you think modern breathing could endure in a place where every inhalation cools the body a little more? The comparison is stark. Most of us would develop pneumonia in less than 48 hours. For the Inuit, however, the cold is not a threat. It is part of their daily life, their culture, their way of understanding the world. For them, ice is home. For us, it is an enemy. Before we continue, there's something important I want to tell you. If you have made it this far, you are already part of this journey. We are now halfway through, and what comes next is even more surprising. If this journey is fascinating you, we invite you to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can join us in every new destination. After leaving the frozen silence of the Arctic behind, our path leads us into a realm ruled by water, a territory where the challenge is no longer keeping warmth, but managing every single breath. 4. Bajau, the body that changed to survive the sea. In these regions of Southeast Asia lives a community that has turned the ocean into its oldest home. Here, the landscape is no longer ice or wind. It is a blue horizon that never stays still. The surrounding waters can be as generous as they are unpredictable, and yet their inhabitants maintain an intimate, almost instinctive relationship with the sea. They do not watch it from the shore. They live in it. For generations, they have spent more time on the water than on solid ground. Their floating houses, wooden boats, and stilt villages tell the story of a life designed around the tides. Their days unfold among shifting currents and depths that for most people would be out of reach. Men, women, and even children dive to fish without modern equipment, descending again and again as if the ocean were a natural extension of their own bodies. For a non-adapted body, such a routine would be unthinkable. Pressure, lack of oxygen, and the microorganisms present in the water would quickly turn the sea into a hostile environment. But here something extraordinary has happened. The human body has learned to transform. In 2018, a study published in Cell revealed one of the most surprising findings about these communities. They possess a spleen that is roughly 50% larger than that of neighboring populations unaccustomed to diving. The spleen acts as a natural reservoir of red blood cells, and during immersion, it releases part of this reserve to make better use of the available oxygen. It is an adaptation that recalls those seen in some marine mammals. On top of this physical advantage, they show an unusual tolerance to hypoxia, the lack of oxygen. While an occasional diver might experience dizziness or disorientation after only a short time at depth, prolonged dives are part of daily life here. For some people, holding their breath is a skill. For them, it is an inheritance. Their life at sea has also shaped their defenses. Constant exposure to warm, murky waters rich in microorganisms has forced their immune system to adapt to an environment that, for many, would easily lead to infection. Equally remarkable is the way their bodies handle pressure. At depths that would endanger the health of an ordinary swimmer, their bodies slow the metabolism, adjust heart rate, and maintain consciousness without fainting. The organism treats the ocean as a second home, a demanding environment that requires calm, precision, and absolute control over oxygen. And you? What do you think of a people capable of molding their bodies to the rhythm of the ocean until it becomes part of their identity? The comparison is clear. An average human would suffer blackouts and serious infections if they attempted to dive as the Bajau do. For these communities, the sea is not a silent enemy. It is a teacher they have learned to listen to and imitate. A teacher that reminds them every day that life can adapt, even in environments where we see only danger. The sea does not make them sick. It transforms them. And now, after crossing scorching deserts, jungles overflowing with life, ice that shuts down breath, and seas that reshape the human body, we enter the final stretch of this journey. Up to this point, we have seen astonishing adaptations. And yet, the question that has followed us from the beginning remains. What allows some human beings to stay healthy in places where we would inevitably fall ill? The Gulf answer does not lie in an extreme climate, nor in a single physical capacity, but in a way of life that the modern world has left behind. There is a people whose bodies preserve a memory we have lost, an ancestral microbiota, constant contact with the soil, and a relationship with the environment that redefines what it means to be healthy. The last leg of this journey takes us to Tanzania to meet the Hadza. 5. Hadza, the immunity the modern world lost. After crossing seas, ice, jungles, and deserts, we arrive at a community that, at first glance, does not live in an environment as extreme as the previous ones. They do not face lethal temperatures or crushing pressures. And yet, their biology holds one of the most valuable keys in this entire journey. In Tanzania, live the Hadza, one of the last hunter-gatherer societies on the planet. Their way of life preserves something science observes with astonishment: a microbiota that shifts with every season, a phenomenon that has practically disappeared in the modern world. During the rainy season, they eat tender tubers, honey, fresh fruits, and wild plants. In the dry season, their diet shifts toward game meat, tough roots, and hardy berries. Each dietary change reshapes the composition of their gut bacteria, strengthening their immune system as if every season were a natural training cycle. While our microbiomes are impoverished by repetitive diets, processed foods, and limited contact with nature, theirs renews itself in step with the ecosystem. Their diet is another essential pillar. Rich in natural fibers, roots, raw honey, wild fruits, and freshly obtained meat, it offers a nutritional diversity that the modern body rarely experiences. For them, these foods are neither exotic nor hard to digest. They are the foundation that sustains a digestive system trained since childhood. But the real key goes beyond what they eat. Their life unfolds outdoors. They wake with the first light, move slowly but almost constantly, handle unprocessed foods, sleep near the fire, and spend most of the day in direct contact with the soil and the microorganisms that inhabit it. There is no strict separation between indoors and outdoors. The environment itself is part of their health. That constant contact does not weaken them. It makes them stronger. Their defenses learn to distinguish real danger from harmless stimuli, responding only when necessary. In these communities, allergies, intolerances, and autoimmune diseases appear to be far less frequent than in industrialized societies. Not because they possess some extraordinary immunity, but because their immune system is in continuous dialogue with the world. Science has also revealed another striking fact. The Hadza preserve gut microorganisms that have completely disappeared in urban populations. Clear evidence of how modern life has reduced our microbial diversity and, with it, our capacity to adapt. Their lifestyle maintains a balance that our bodies still recognize, even if we have forgotten it. Constant low-intensity activity, circadian rhythms guided by sunlight, minimal exposure to artificial substances, and strong social bonds that reduce stress. What does it say about our species that one of the keys to human health still survives among those who never separated themselves from nature? The comparison is clear. A modern human would suffer chronic diarrhea if they suddenly ate the way the Hadza do. Their bodies are not stronger. They are aligned with the environment that sustains them. For them, the earth is not a risk. It is part of their health. They are not healthy because they escaped the modern world. They are healthy because their world is their medicine. Each of these cultures reveals a different form of resilience. Skin that makes the desert livable, immune systems that coexist with the jungle, bodies that endure ice, physiologies shaped by the sea, and microbiotas more diverse than any modern record. But when seen together, the most revealing part is not about them. It's about us. While these communities preserve their bond with the environment, we move toward a more indoor, controlled, and unintentionally fragile life. The surprising thing isn't that they thrive in extreme environments, but that we have lost part of a resilience that once belonged to us. That is why laboratories and universities study these communities with one central question: what happens to human health when it stops living in dialogue with the world that created it? And the most revealing answers don't come from new technologies, but from ancestral practices, diverse diets, continuous contact with the environment, biological rhythms aligned with real life. A sentence summarizes this journey. They survive without hospitals. We keep finding answers in the memory they preserve. While they continue to engage with nature, we learn to avoid it. And the fragility we feel today is the price of that separation. Perhaps the lesson is not how they avoid illness, but how we stopped avoiding it. Thank you for coming this far. If this journey has sparked questions, ideas, or new perspectives in you, you are now part of a community that values knowledge, reflection, and respect for the peoples of the world. If you want to keep exploring how human society survived the planet's harshest environments, we invite you to subscribe to CronoPlanet and turn on notifications. Tell us what surprised you the most: the physical endurance of these tribes, or the depth of their ancestral knowledge. Share it in the comments using the keyword resistance. If you feel this journey shouldn't end here, more documentaries await you on the channel. See you at the next destination. Remember, each place brings us a little closer to understanding who we were and who we could still be. See you at the next destination.